Hey folks, welcome back to the Stream Catchers. We got episode 3 on deck with your boy AB and
I never said pilot. I'm Jack. What's going on, guys?
welcome back folks. Episode 3, reviewing episode 3 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
A lot going on, a lot of new stuff.
Lots of stuff, lots of plot unfolding, some familiar faces come back. We'll hop into that. But similar to last week, folks, if you haven't watched the episode, don't listen to this one because we are going to have heavy
Oh,
spoilers.
absolutely. Oh, yeah. We're going to
Uh,
dive right in.
no different toes. We were head first.
Yeah.
What did you think,
So,
man?
ups and downs. This. I feel like this episode was a little harder to follow just because there was so much espionage and a little more side characters. But as a whole, it was very rewarding to watch a second time and really get a grip on some of these side characters, even though some of them end up dying anyway. But
Yeah,
with Selby and the scientist. Dr. Nagel.
Dr. Nagel, yeah.
But yeah, it was good. It was really good. It felt a lot different from the first two in a good way.
Yeah, I agree with you too. I think some of the plot was a little bit tough to follow, especially I think some of the Carly stuff. I kind of had trouble. Like, what is she doing? What is she towards the end of the episode? Like, what is this? I had to watch it a couple times, like you said, to really kind of get a hold of it. But I liked the episode for sure. I like kind of we're seeing things start to unfold a bit. We're getting a little bit more on the power broker, who we'll get into in a little bit. And yeah, man, I enjoyed it, and I agree. It definitely felt different from the first couple episodes.
It felt like it could have been almost its own feature film, in whatever 45, 50 minutes. There was a lot of content in here.
Yeah, definitely. Opened up with John Walker, and we didn't get a whole lot more of him the rest of the episode, which is what it is. But
yeah,
different side of him. We're starting to see a little bit more of his true colors.
Some chinks in the armor. Yeah, he certainly didn't like getting spit in his face, did he? I thought he was going to react a little bit bigger than he did.
I thought there was going to be some fist thrown. I thought that he would snap a little bit, and I mean, you could tell he was peeved.
Oh man, yeah.
He seems to really like throwing around the name Captain America. He didn't really say that, but it was implied.
Do you know who I am? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very contrasting to Steve, right? Where Steve
never would have done that.
Never would have done that.
No, he probably wouldn't have even shown that he was pissed off.
No, and so of course the guy that they're interrogating, you could tell he didn't respect him as Captain America at all. Whereas you feel like if it would have been Steve, he probably would have got the answers he wanted.
Well, yeah, he would have been much more scared of the real Cap.
Yeah. So, we only saw Battlestar and John Walker one other time in the episode, but I was kind of hoping we'd get a little bit more of them, but we got so much that it definitely makes sense that we didn't get.
It was hard to be disappointed with what we did get, but I agree. It felt like I missed a lot of him in this episode.
Yeah, and we talked about it last week, and there's still plenty of show left, but I'm starting to wonder if we're going to get a little bit more from Battlestar, backstory or character development, or if he really just is another piece just to kind of have in the show.
With only 3 episodes left and how little they've set up with him, I'm almost thinking that maybe they're going to dive into his character in future stuff and not really necessarily this show.
Yeah. Before we hop off of them, unless you have other things you want to talk about, do you see, I think last week there was some thoughts of maybe Battlestar ends up with Super Soldier Serum. I'm starting to think that John Walker is going to get the serum.
Okay, just because of the way that he's a little bit more unhinged than we thought initially.
Yeah, and I think that it seems like he's throwing around his power, so to speak, as Cap. And that interaction itself where this villain isn't really respecting him as Cap, maybe his thought process becomes, well, if I'm going to be Captain America, I've got to have the serum as well. That's what made Steve so threatening. Maybe he feels that to complete the package, so to speak, that he has to end up taking it.
Which is a backwards way of thinking of it, it's
a villainous way to think.
Right, exactly, which is exciting for us.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to jump the gun, but I feel like I have to, just because, John Walker was in two scenes, one in the beginning and one at the end, and in the beginning we've covered, that he was, he almost beat this guy, beat information out of this guy, and when he walked out, he wipes the spit off his face, and he's pacing back and forth, pissed off. And in the end scene, they're following any lead that they can, and that lead ends up being, again, following Sam and Bucky, because that's their best bet, and they're going to do it off the books. So it's going to be interesting seeing how John Walker is without being backed by the military.
Or is he? So we also got a commercial, so to speak, of the GRC, the Global Recreation Council. And he's part of that, right? Like that's
yes. Oh yeah. The first scene where he was getting out of that van with those troops, that was a GRC van.
Yeah.
I thought they did a really good job of introducing the GRC as this, we're gonna help, and what did it say? Reset, restore, rebuild. And then the very next scene is a bunch of troops getting out of a van. Here's the reality of it.
Yeah, and so maybe it's not so off the books. Maybe it's going to be, maybe they are, so to speak, a villainous entity. Not villainous, right? But just blurred lines.
Much the same way that like Sword was in WandaVision.
Yeah. Maybe there's something. Maybe we can get into this a little bit later, but that maybe there is some ties to our overarching villain, the Power Broker.
Yes, well, that's the episode title. That was the episode title, The Power Broker, and he's still faceless.
Still faceless. We might as well dive right into it.
Yeah, sure. What the hell?
Power Broker.
What do we know?
We don't know a whole lot. We know he's watching.
Yeah, that's one of my two notes. One, he's watching, and two, he's really into super soldiers.
Well, and so I think he's obviously the one that texted Carly.
Yes.
The episode prior.
That's very clear now.
It's because they stole the serum from him.
Right.
And so one of the things that I thought was interesting was they mentioned that there were 20, I guess, vials or whatever of the serum. And
right.
Only 7 or 8 of those Flag Smashers took it.
Right.
So there's still some serum that's out there that the Power Broker wants to get his hands on. What do you think? And that kind of ties back into what I was thinking about John Walker. What if the Power Broker is behind the GRC and somehow ends up getting him the serum?
So you think maybe an alliance between the Power Broker and John Walker?
I think so.
I think that's very possible. I think that I want Isaiah to tie in more, and I am trying to force it, but I know it's not going to happen. But yeah. I would really like to see Isaiah in action against the distribution of super soldier serum.
I agree. I feel like we're not going to get that. I feel like it's going to ultimately be Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Exactly. It has to be.
But I think that there is something to the Power Broker also being tied to the GRC / Battlestar and John Walker.
Okay.
We'll see though.
Yeah, of course.
Zemo.
Let's talk Zemo. I think they did. I did. Yep, they broke him out, and they made quick work of it too. I mean, they broke him out. Well, I say they. I mean, Bucky broke him out before the title of the show even comes on screen.
Yeah. I really love the way that they set it up. Bucky's, I got to talk to him alone. He doesn't want to deal with you. And then, of course, they do the back and forth. You get the 17 and logging and whatever else the words are. And he's kind of toying with Bucky. And then Bucky talks about how, let's just hypothetically say that if a fight breaks out, why would a fight break out? It happens. And then,
it happens all the time. Who knows?
Yeah. And then, of course, Sam
they orchestrated all of this.
Yeah. Sam, of course, realizes what happened. And we have a reluctant alliance.
Yeah, and I love Sam's reaction to Zemo walking through the door. You know, it's like, what? No, hell no, you're going back to prison. What are you
Yeah,
doing?
yeah. It was. I'm a big fan in general when you see heroes and villains sort of team up for a
Oh
common
sure, me
goal.
too.
Yeah. So, and you said it perfectly too, where it happened right before the title scene. So it's like, all right, I guess we're gonna do this, and then boom.
Yeah, they're not wasting any time, which is good because they've only got 6 episodes.
Exactly. So,
You know,
what? How did you like Zemo, and what do you think of the pairing?
so I always like an unlikely alliance between heroes and villains. I think it's really cool. I think that this episode did a really good job of it. I kept waiting for Zemo to backstab him, and he kept not doing it. You know,
Right.
I'm wondering if we're going to get that ultimately, or what's going to happen. I'm very excited to see. I thought that his costume was badass. I loved his coat. Uh, I will say that the first time that I watched the episode, I thought that the mask was a little bit cheesy, but after I watched the second time, when he's picking the mask up out of that car, he's really looking at it, and there's kind of a musical sting, and it's like, I really appreciate that they're doing so much backstory without even really even telling you. That he's connected to this mask in a way that he's maybe even a little bit uncomfortable with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think the look is fantastic. There's an arrogance to him. There's a bit of a cockiness.
Yep.
I didn't even really know he was rich. That was a cool, I guess, little retcon that they did. He got his
Mm-hmm.
private jet, and then sort of like to the mask when you go to the scene at the shipping yard, and he's standing on top of the container, and he's kind of just holding it, and you get that back shot of him, and he throws it on, and it's like he's becoming this entirely different person, this entirely
Mm-hmm.
different being, and then it's a different Zemo than what we saw in Civil War, where he was
Oh
really
yeah.
just manipulating everyone mentally, whereas now he's getting in the action, he's fighting, he's no joke, he's not to be taken lightly.
In Civil War, he really felt like he was just a guy. I mean, a
Mm,
genius, but also, just a guy
right.
with revenge in his heart. And in this show, you really get a feel for where he comes from. His wealth, his
Yeah.
arrogance. I think it adds a lot to his character. You said retcon, but I don't know if it's a true retcon. I mean, did they ever say that he was poor or an everyman? Or I'm trying to think back to Civil War. I mean, so
Retcon's
much
probably the
happened in that
wrong
movie.
retcon's probably the wrong way to phrase it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess maybe just like a cool little addition that we
Hmm.
did. Yeah, because I mean, there was no indication in Civil War that I recall that would imply that he was rich or had this wealth or this whole background to it. It seemed like he was just this guy that had a family that was killed in an unfortunate accident, and wanted revenge. Whereas
Yeah.
there's a legit criminal background to him based on what I
Hmm.
mean. We'll get to Magic Point.
Well, yeah, because he's got all these connections in this outlaw underworld of what did they call it? Madripoor.
Yes,
So he's been around. He's a player.
yes. So, and a lot like you, I was waiting for the backstab, and I
Hmm.
thought when they shoot or when he shoots Dr. Nagel, and he goes out on his own, I'm like, oh, here it is. Here's the backstab, because you hear them like, where's Zemo? And it's like, oh,
Hmm.
here it comes, and he's gonna let them die, and then they're gonna have to find him. But no, he pulled through with the sweet ride, and they're still teaming up. So
So, do you think the only thing stopping him from fleeing is the super soldiers that are still out there? Do you think he's true in his mission, and then after that, maybe he'll try to split, or what do you
oh
think
yeah,
will? Yeah.
there's no they're not. I don't see them redeeming Zemo. Now he's like part of the team. I think
Oh
that.
no, no, no. I don't think there's a place on the Avengers for him.
Come on in, man. Like,
Yeah.
no, I think it's going to be a case of common goal. We did it, we got it, and he's going to go off and do his own thing, and maybe even before I guess the climax of the show as well.
Yeah. Well, I know as soon as he sees Ao, he's gonna want to run for the door because he's not gonna want to face Wakandan justice. I think he'd rather be in his prison cell.
Oh man, yeah, that'll be a really big thing to watch for the next episode is how they handle that. because I definitely don't feel like we're getting Zemo all the way to the end. I feel like something's going to happen within episode 4 or 5, and it's going to be just up to Bucky and Sam from there.
Yeah.
So
Well, I would agree. I think that the plot, I think that this episode, which I loved, is going to be an outlier. And I think that the majority of the ending of this show is going to focus more on John Walker, the Flag Smashers, the Power Broker, all that.
absolutely, absolutely. So you mentioned, you brought it up, Madripoor. Did you do
Yeah.
any Googling on Madripoor?
I didn't. I just watched with a very close eye. I'm sorry. I
That's
should have
okay.
Googled.
That's all right. I did my Googling. Madripoor is what they said, it's a spot next to Singapore. It's made up. It's like Gotham City or Metropolis. It's not a
Okay,
real place.
cool.
But it is famously the home for one Wolverine bub, and
What?
yes, he spends a lot of time there as Patch, and he obviously wasn't in the there was no like background of, oh, I can see the hair and
Yeah.
yeah, there's a bar, I can't remember it, but they do show a logo for the entrance. That's not where they actually went, but that bar is the bar that Wolverine frequents in the comics as well.
No kidding.
Yeah. So
Okay.
obviously he's not going to just pop up in the show. That was more of a wink and a nod to us,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I know what you mean. It's fun to speculate, but I don't think we're going to get anything like that. I think that's just Marvel putting in, a handful of Easter eggs just to please fans. I don't think we're actually going to get anything out of that.
I think it's foundation laying. I think it's similar to Age of Ultron, where they go to Wakanda. There's no mention of Black Panther or anything to do with the actual Wakanda. It's just, here's this place, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, Wakanda. And then before long, here comes Black Panther. I think we know the X-Men are coming. It's definitely not going to be in this show. But I think it was some foundation laying in the similar sense.
Yeah, I like the way that Marvel sprinkles in details way before they're ready to do anything. That way, when it does happen, you're like, oh, it was this maybe foreshadowing, or it's cool the way they do stuff like that.
Right, definitely. So that was really the only cool thing about Madripoor. I mean, it was really cool looking spot. The bar was, I think it was a fun scene.
Oh man, all those scenes in Madripoor were the coolest.
I love the shot he's got to take.
What the hell was that? He slices open that snake, and I'm like, what the hell is he pulling out of it? He's gonna drink that, and even he was like,
I love the line.
That was so funny.
I love these. Like,
I love these. He puts it in his mouth and just gives the silent thumbs up. The bartender's like, okay.
Just, yeah, that was a great scene.
It was.
Of course, we get the Selby stuff. And
yes, who I recognized. I had to pause the episode, Google who she was. I was so excited to find out that she was in one episode of Lost. She's a super throwaway character, and I was way disappointed. I was like, why did I remember her face?
Oh my god! I think
Selby was a pretty cool character for the 5 minutes that she gets to be in the show.
I think I saw something somewhere, and I could be just pulling this out of my ass, but I think I saw somebody say that actress played a different character in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I saw that on her IMDb, but I didn't recognize the character name, and I didn't do any research into her. But she was only in 2 episodes, so I can't imagine she was very important.
Okay, yeah, I didn't. It felt like they were trying to make that a bigger deal than it was, because there was like this pause to reveal who it was, and then it's like, I don't recognize this person, and then
that's true. They did have like a sweeping camera behind somebody's back, whatever. But
yeah, they almost set it up to where it was going to be an important person, and I mean, I don't see how they could build on it at all. So
yeah,
that was, I guess, a complaint for me. I was expecting something, right? The way they set it up.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we're not going to be disappointed in the Power Broker in that same way, because they're kind of building it up a little bit more than it feels like they should. Yeah. And I'm wondering if maybe we've seen the Power Broker before. How cool would that be?
What do you think about it being Zemo?
Being the Power Broker all along? That's spicy. I
It's
like it.
I
I'm
don't
trying to wrap my head around it. I don't know how they would do that, but
I
I'd be
don't
pleased.
I don't think that it would make sense simply because he hates super soldiers and the power broker had the serum. Unless
Yeah.
it was he wanted to keep the serum to keep people from getting it, that would make sense, I suppose. But there were a few moments where they were about to find out who the power broker was from Nagel, and then Zemo shoots him.
Right.
And then there's also a line that Zemo says where way towards the end where he says, I for one am looking forward to meeting Carly or running into Carly or something like that.
That's true. Yeah, and I think that the show gives us enough reason to know that that his intentions are true to his character and not necessarily being the power broker, because he wants to meet Carly because she has distributed super soldier serum and he is very anti super soldiers. um I'm trying to think what was the other, oh, the other instance when he shoots Dr. Nagel. He does that when Sharon, who we haven't talked about yet, but when Sharon walks in and says that, you know, their cover's blown, there's bounty hunters everywhere, we're screwed, and then he just decides to shoot Dr. Nagel. And I think that he does that because, you know, if they're gonna die, if Sam, Bucky, Sharon, and Zemo are gonna die, then he's gonna die too, because he doesn't want, because if he can distribute super soldier serum, if he created the
Yeah.
specialized dosage that keeps their body shape, it doesn't make them into a super buff jacked person. He doesn't want that knowledge to get out, and he doesn't want him to live. So I think that would be cool. I think that seeing Zemo as the power broker would be a cool revelation, but I don't think there's enough to me to tell me that he is.
I think that's fair. I mean, yeah, I think that there's enough explanation for killing Dr.
Right.
Nagel, and it's covering his tracks, like you said. Doesn't want that to get out. That definitely makes a ton of sense.
If they do go that route, I'm definitely going to have to watch this show over again with a closer eye, because I love that foreshadowing stuff. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
yeah. It's that line there where he talks about he can't wait to run into Carly, and it makes sense because she's got the serum and he doesn't like super soldiers, so it
Right.
makes sense. But I don't think that's where they're going to go. It would just be, I think maybe they're doing it on purpose, or they're making you think it's going to be him, just because.
It's a spicy idea. I do like it.
Yeah, so we'll see. But anything else on Zemo or
I don't think so. That was the we've covered my notes on Zemo.
okay? You mentioned her.
You want to switch gears and talk about Sharon for a sec? I
Sharon the
feel like there's a
Bad.
lot to there's a lot to talk about with her.
I agree.
She's
There's
a
a lot.
whole new Sharon.
She is bitter, resentful, and you totally understand why.
She's a
And
product of being on the run for years.
you kind of have to sit back and think, why didn't they get her pardoned? But I guess it makes sense because they were on the run, and then of course they get blipped. So I guess that does make sense. But then they get unblipped, and Bucky gets pardoned. Why is Sam not trying to help her out? I mean, she said it best. She helped him get the wings.
Yeah, Bucky has killed so many people, and he was an agent of Hydra, and he gets the pardon before Sharon does. That seems wrong to me.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I think that it's interesting. It's definitely made a cool character out of her. I'm wondering if she is going to be in the show anymore. It kind of seems like she's splitting, and that's going to be the end of her story. Maybe in the finale. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. I think there was something to that last shot of her where they're leaving the shipping yard and there's a car waiting for her, and she says, what did she say?
She's got like an assistant waiting for her with a car, and she says, "We've got problems." A couple of them.
We've got a problem, a couple of them. And I think there's more to her than just like she just wanted to help out for an episode. I think that there's more to that, especially knowing that she's basically adopted the lifestyle of a criminal. What if she's the power broker?
What if she's the power broker?
I throw one of these names out now.
Yeah, I mean, oh, you've got to, right? I mean, because who knows? Who knows who the
Right.
power broker is? I think so. Talking more about those problems she's talking about. What do you think she means by that? If you
I
had to guess.
I think it's something that's conflicting with what Bucky and Sam are trying to do.
Okay.
It's because
So
she
so
helped
you
them
you
because
think
they
she's a little
promised
shady?
that yeah she helped them because they promised to pardon. So she obviously wants to get pardoned.
Right.
But maybe there's and she helped them early in the episode because she knew Zemo and she wanted to kill him because of what happened.
Right.
So there were common goals for a bit there, but I think that their overarching goal of stopping the super soldier serum, maybe that's conflicting with what she's trying to do. She's
Maybe
adopted.
she's after those remaining 12 doses.
Maybe.
That'd be really interesting. What I had in my notes for her problems, one, Zemo being free. I still don't think that sits right with her, and I think that she wants him back behind bars. And I'm wondering if maybe she put in the call to AO, and that's maybe her finding a solution for one of those problems.
How does she know AO? How does she have contact with Wakandans?
See, well, to answer that, I have to get into a whole nother thing in my notes, but let's go ahead and do it.
Dive in.
I don't think she was blipped. I think she's been on the run for longer than everybody. I think because she's so bitter. I mean, she's a completely different person.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's spent the last 5 years when Sam and Bucky were blipped. I think she was getting really, really into her criminal activity and establishing herself. And I think that was I think that is her remaining problem that she was talking about, that she was referring to. She helped Bucky, Sam, and Zemo, and she was seen helping Bucky, Sam, and Zemo. I mean, she killed a bunch of those bounty hunters, and that's going to be a huge problem for her reputation in Madripoor.
I agree with your theory that she wasn't blipped. There's a shot in Endgame when they're it's the very beginning when they're going over who was snapped, and they showed Strange and they've got Peter and they've got a few other, and she's in that shot of the people.
Oh, she is?
But she was on the run at that point.
Yeah, she's off the grid.
No one had tabs on her. So it's how would they know for sure? How could you possibly confirm that if you had no tabs on her?
All right, headcanon. They called her family and asked, "Hey, is Sharon alive?" And they said, "We haven't seen Sharon in years. She's probably blipped." I don't know. Just a theory.
Maybe
just a headcanon, I guess.
She said in the episode she hasn't talked to her family.
Right, exactly. So her family doesn't truly know. So maybe to rationalize why she hasn't contacted her family has decided that she's been blipped.
Right. I tend to agree, and we've seen small errors like that. I mean, there was in Spider-Man Homecoming, they said the Battle of New York was 8 years prior to that actually taking place, but it chronologically doesn't make sense because Battle of New York's 2012, Spider-Man's 2017, Infinity War's 2018. So obviously the math doesn't add up there.
Which I had done extensive research into years ago, but I don't remember the conclusions that I came to. I'd love to talk about it sometime if I could brush up on it, and maybe we'll talk about that in a future episode. But that was a fun thing to research.
I think Kevin Feige actually just straight up came out and said that was an error.
Did he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I almost would rather make solutions for them to make it make sense.
So someday off camera, off a different topic, we can talk about your theories.
I'm
now genuinely interested. But
cool.
She was an absolute. I mean, she took on all those bounty hunters by herself.
Yeah, it which that whole scene, that whole sequence at the shipyard felt very DC to me. I don't know about you, but like seeing Sharon fight with a baton was very reminiscent of like Dick Grayson, and seeing Zemo on top of the shipping container with his mask, by his side, that all of that felt very DC, which I thought was kind of strange.
I didn't pick up on that.
You didn't get those vibes?
No, I thought it was a brilliant sequence. I mean, highlight of the show, I think, for me. Maybe I'll go back and rewatch and see what you're talking about. But I mean, I definitely get what you're talking about. I mean, the batons, that's definitely Nightwing, and
Yeah,
yeah.
it was cool though. It was
What are
really
you
cool.
tying Zemo to? Like,
So seeing that shot of him from the back holding his own mask really felt reminiscent of the first scene in Dark Knight where you see that opening shot
oh,
of the Joker holding the clown mask. And I feel like you get those shots more in the comics of the character from the back holding his own mask, which was very, very DC, and also, masks in general are more DC's thing. The MCU isn't really about masked characters. There's only that I can think of. There's really only one character who has a secret identity, and that's Peter. And even that's Spider-Man, and even he's really loose with his identity.
I have a thing, so I'm like looking at like who has masks. I mean, it's quite a
Because
few, but yeah, I mean, you're
Tony
right.
was unmasked from the beginning. Cap never cared about a secret identity.
Daredevil.
Hulk, Daredevil. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, he's in universe as much as he can be.
Yeah, yeah. No,
But yeah,
so are you talking straight up comics or MCU? Because I mean, yeah, in the MCU.
I'm trying to mostly talk about the MCU.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
100% fair, and I would agree that DC is a bit more protective of secret identities. Because I
yeah.
mean, I don't think there's anybody in DC that is open about who they are.
Right? Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, I mean, Tony Stark straight up is I'm Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
First one, and yeah, we all know who Steve is and whatnot. So that okay, that's I do get what you're saying. Maybe that's why I like that shot I mentioned earlier with Zemo's holding the mask, and
It's super cool.
now that I think about it, it definitely is. It is Heath Ledger Joker, where he's right at the beginning.
Isn't it? Doesn't it feel like that a little bit?
It's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a good pickup on your part right there. That was awesome. Um, what else? So rewinding a bit to back to Madripoor,
Yeah,
and
let's do it. I've got a few more Madripoor notes myself.
okay, we see a Return of the Winter Soldier ish. And one thing that I immediately noticed was, in true form to today's culture, everybody has cell phones. And as soon as he starts whipping ass, people are.
Yeah.
And so
That's not going to be good for the future of Bucky being Avenger.
I think something's gonna come of that.
Yeah, that wasn't good. There was a lot of prying eyes, a lot of cameras on him, kicking ass and taking names in the worst way.
And taking orders from Zemo.
Right.
So
And that's probably how John Walker found out that Sam and Bucky sprung him.
well, no,
Had
they
springed him.
well,
But you know what I
they
mean.
found out because they were at the station and they had footage of them at the
Right, but even they did that covertly, didn't they?
hmm?
They
Oh,
didn't,
so
because they
okay.
covered their tracks when they broke him out. If they made it like, obviously they're going to watch that footage and figure out that Zemo had an escape plan, but I don't think they're going to tie it to Bucky officially. He was just there. I don't know. I mean,
Right.
it's
But the episode itself, they were talking to the police officer looking at security footage of them just at the facility, and then they
yeah,
deduce that they happen to be here the same day that Zemo's broken out. They had to have done it. Why? Because they're as desperate as we are. That was sort
yeah.
of the show. But maybe.
And that footage of the Winter Soldier fighting for Zemo in Madripoor is going to be the last nail in his coffin. You
Right.
think?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that at some point, yeah, that will come up, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, hey, what do you got here?" So
yeah.
I
That
think
was. Go ahead.
that was just that there's going to be repercussions. I think that there was a reason they showed them filming everything.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I don't think that wasn't for no reason.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, in a world where everybody's got YouTube in their pocket, he's going to be viral very quickly. And I'm almost a little surprised that it wasn't in that episode.
Yeah, I agree, but I think it's coming. I could even see it coming next episode because there's got to be a point
Same.
where he deals with that and then gets
Hmm.
back into the good graces somehow. So
Yeah. I think they're going to depend on Zemo for, shelter and, how do we get out of, being on the run and all that. And it's going to be interesting. I love the scene of Bucky kicking ass in Madripoor. I think it was super cool. The musical sting of the Winter Soldier music, that faint whining, humming, like,
Yes.
oh man, I love it so much. I love every time it comes back. It makes me want to watch Cap and the Winter Soldier so bad.
Same. And I noticed they actually did a bit of a mix of his theme with Zemo's theme as well. Just kind of like overlaid it. Go back and rewatch
Okay.
it a bit. And yeah, it's definitely remixed a bit.
I'll have to check that out because I can't think of what Zemo's is specifically. I'll have to check that out again. I'm
Yeah,
sure they played it with his scene where he's holding his mask, right?
I'm pretty sure. I can't say for sure, but I would
Okay,
imagine they did.
I'll check it out. I'll just Google or YouTube Zemo's theme and get more familiar with it, and then watch that scene again because that scene was pure magic.
It was. It really was. And then of course you get Sam like, hey, you good? Just checking
You
it.
good, dude?
Hey, are you coming
Yeah, he
back
has
for
to
that?
check in with him all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really do like what they're doing with Bucky's character and how even this episode they didn't do it a whole lot, but there's still just that underlying bit of you're still dealing with this trauma, you're still trying to come over this. I mean, they had that part with the book where Zemo had it.
Yeah, Zemo loves to poke him, doesn't he?
Man, he
Shoot.
does. And I love the
He
interaction of, did you listen to Trouble Man? He's like, well, I like 40s music.
So yeah, what do you expect? I am 100. Which also you got to see in with the Madripoor like rave scene. Bucky was walking around this crowd of people, dancing, getting really into the music, and he's just like, okay, it's a real reminder that he's 100 years old.
Yeah, yeah. It's those little subtle things, right? Where it's just like, oh, yes, that just makes perfect sense. This is awesome.
Yeah. And you get that funny dorky Zemo dance, which I super want a gif of. That's so funny.
I've
That's
seen a
me in
few.
any dance ever.
I've seen a few already. Yeah, that's that. And it was just like a split second, but it was just like,
Uh-huh.
all right.
It's so funny.
I love it. What else did you have on Magic Four? You said you had a few notes on it.
That was it. It was mostly that fight scene with Bucky. That was probably my favorite scene in the episode was him fighting the guys at the bar.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. What else? Oh, we didn't really talk about Carly yet.
Yeah, so it wasn't really her episode to shine, but she did have some deep character development in the middle and definitely towards the end.
Hmm.
Lost her mom, I guess, or a mother figure. I don't think it's actually her mom, but I looked up who that was that died in the hospital bed
Yeah,
at the GRC place was it Latvia?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that was her mom. She was really upset about that. And then at the end, when they're stealing more vaccine from the GRC, she decides to torch the place, blows it up, kills all the people that they had, tied up in there.
Yeah, so she's really leaning into a villain, whereas I think
Hmm.
last week my speculation was that she wasn't going to end up being one. She was going to be one, but a villain with true motivation, like you understand why she is this way, similar to maybe Ghost and Ant-Man and the Wasp, where
Yes, yeah.
yeah, exactly, yeah, you're definitely doing the wrong thing here, but your life is at stake.
Hmm.
And so this is it's not the same as the power broker or whatever his main goal is. It's true motivation, a true I guess sympathy villain. I guess I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Marvel does a really good job at making villains have not evil intentions. They just go about their stuff the wrong way. Even with Zemo, like Zemo just doesn't want super soldiers. That's not
Yeah,
necessarily a bad thing.
right.
He just, framed Bucky for murder and blew up the UN. Like those are bad things, but his intentions aren't evil, you know?
Yeah, I think there's some. I definitely agree. Some of them, yes. Some of them, man, whatever. But Zemo is a really good example of someone that he lost his family because of the Avengers. It's
Right.
you get it, right? You understand.
Hmm.
Same with Carly, where we see her lose this important person. Why? Because of the blip and what happened, what the GRC's doing, and so I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe them team up with Bucky and Sam if the power broker is tied to the GRC.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I hadn't really put the pieces together why she was so mad at the GRC. Her mom died in a GRC facility while at a different GRC facility they were sitting on all of this vaccine.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. So what's the deal with that, you think?
Yeah, I don't know, because she even said the line of you've got all this sitting here. Why aren't you using it?
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, but yeah. So it's what was your question? What do you think the deal is with her blowing it up, or?
No, what's the deal with the GRC not dispensing the vaccine properly? Why would her mom be at a GRC facility and die while they have vaccine that could have saved her? I mean, that's kind of their function, right? Is
Right.
to what was it, rebuild, reset, rebuild, restore, something like that? Like
Something like that.
what gives? Why aren't they doing that? I'm not asking you. I'm just kind of asking in
Right.
general, like what's the deal, you know?
Yeah, I'm sitting here
So
trying to think like, oh God, I don't know how to answer this question, but
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, her hate her is justified. Like it's screwed up that they weren't helping her.
yeah, and so I hope that they actually do explore that though, because
Yeah,
I
I
think
think I just became a flag smasher, is what I'm trying to say.
you've got the hand and the globe in the background. You're gonna get a tattoo. It's just
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So, like you said, not a whole lot of her in the episode, but just enough to really add more depth to the character. Which is, she maybe had 5 to 7 minutes of screen time, and
yeah.
I'm far more interested in what's going to happen with her than I was a week ago.
Yeah, watching this episode twice was I probably would have done it even if we hadn't, planned to do this podcast, just because there was so much.
Yeah.
There was so much, in each scene that I'm almost, I'm still unpacking one scene by the time the next scene starts, and it was nice to pause, take some notes, and then get into the next thing.
There's just a lot of moving pieces, right? Because you've got John
Mm-hmm.
Walker and Battlestar, and we have no idea if they're truly good, truly bad. You've got the GRC sort of in the background. What's going on with that? Are they truly well-intentioned or are they not? You've got the flag smashers. You've got this power broker who's way in the background where we're just little by little getting more on him. You add in the wild card of Zemo, and then of course Sam and Bucky and what they're trying to accomplish. Now you add
Yeah.
in Ayo and Sharon Carter. I mean, there's just so much going on in
Yes.
the show right now, and it's layer by layer, just getting a little bit more interesting each episode.
I hope that everything, I mean, I trust them to wrap it up with a bow, but I feel like with this many plot threads, something is going to be left unfinished for either a different series for us to see in a different series or a different movie. And if I had to guess, I would think Sharon Carter's plot line is going to come into play in a different show. I don't think that her plot line is going to wrap up in this show. Just a guess, but I just feel like there's so many obvious things you have to wrap up. You have to finish off, you have to either finish off or make a big cliffhanger out of John Walker,
Yeah.
or Zemo. There's just so many pieces that I don't think we can see everything resolve in these last 3 episodes.
Not at
I feel
all.
like we're barely getting to the middle of the show and we're halfway through it.
Right. Well, I think that they said the entire time that the point of the show is to set up future Marvel shows and movies. So
Cool.
similar to WandaVision, where it was really it's going to lead into Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I don't know what this directly is going to lead into. Nothing pops out that's obvious. I mean, maybe
Watch a Sharon Carter show.
I would too. I could see her popping up in Secret Invasions.
Ooh, is that going to be a show?
Yes, yeah.
It
We
is?
talked about it a few weeks ago
Okay.
before we started the podcast.
Okay. I have the memory of a goldfish, so I apologize.
It's the one with Nick Fury and Talos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear my dog barking? He's the girls next door doing an Easter egg hunt. I can't.
Oh,
Can you hear him through the mic? Okay, cool.
No. I was also talking, so I don't. Maybe.
He wants to go out and play so bad.
It's a nice day out.
Oh yeah.
I could see her building into that somehow. There was a somebody showed an Easter egg of the phone she was using was the same phone that Nick Fury had in Winter Soldier when he showed Cap that the walls have ears. He's in his apartment and he's
Interesting.
showing him the messages. Yeah, so it's the exact same phone. So I wonder if
Interesting.
she is tied to him at all.
That'd be cool. I'd be down.
Yeah, but I agree. I don't think her story gets resolved. I think we might see a bit more of it. I don't think that's the last we see of her, but I think that it's going to lead into something much better.
You know, let me, and I guess this is kind of spoiling it for myself, but I'm going to look up on IMDb how many episodes of the show she's going to be in.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Because I did that with Isaiah, and I'm glad that I did, because I had my hopes up that he would be a major player in this show, and knowing that he's not kind of makes me adjust my expectations a little bit in a good way.
That's important because, you know, going back to maybe WandaVision, where I wasn't straight up expecting to see Doctor Strange, but I was hoping for it, and if I had known for sure he wasn't going to be in there, it would have been fine. But there was still that like little moment of just show him, say hi.
Yeah.
What's up, Wanda? You know, what's going on, homie? How
you been, man?
Good day, doctor. What's up?
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it. I am sad that we're not going to see more Isaiah though, because I really want to see more Isaiah.
Well, according to IMDb, Sharon is in 4 episodes, which already, yeah, that could be right. So she's in the last 3. Okay, wow, cool.
Okay, well there you go. So
well, there goes that. I guess, you know, I guess they are probably going to try to wrap up some of her plot threads.
I think there's something to those lines she said towards the end, because it's also like, how did you have a getaway car ready to go? You know,
she's Sharon Carter, man. She's got connections now. She's got an assistant with a car and a stolen art collection and a sweet penthouse pad. She's got it all.
Person.
You know, except for, you know, her country and her family.
The main things that she probably wants.
Yeah.
It's
so what do you think will happen once she gets her pardon? Because I believe that Sam could probably get her pardoned for helping them like this.
Oh, I'm sure. What happens, man? How do you go back from the life that you're living? How do you?
Yeah, I feel like with the criminal reputation that you've built, you'd have to keep your eye over your shoulder at all times, sleep with one eye open. You know, I don't know if she could get back to her civilian life, so to speak.
I could see her doing something with Nick Fury though. I think there's something to that.
Yeah,
I really do. Just because obviously he's shown that he can work with someone like Black Widow, who has a shady past and criminal activity and whatnot. I do think that there's some ties there. Plus, obviously, you have S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that. So I could see her showing up in Secret Invasion.
I hope that you're right. I'm pushing for that. I think that would be the best way to keep her character going.
Yes. So, and then we brought her up. We brought AO up. Any theories as far as where that's going? How many appearances we get? Is that a
so Bucky sees this little, you know, Wakandan device in the ground, and he, you know, follows them like breadcrumbs to this alley, and then he turns around, and then he turns back, and AO's there. You know, those were her breadcrumbs. That was his trail to follow. She wants a meeting with him, and her line is, "I'm here for Zemo." And that's all we get. So what do you think? Is she going to be a major player, or because I kind of doubt it, just because I don't know. Maybe I haven't given this enough thought, but I think that I first of all, I'm thrilled that there's going to be a Wakandan character in the show. I didn't see that coming. I was very surprised. But how is she gonna play into everything? Do you think that she's gonna let Sam and Bucky, you know, use Zemo and then take him, or do you think she's, you know, is her mission just get Zemo, recover him, take him to Wakanda, have him face justice, you know, disregard Sam and Bucky's allegiance with him? Like I don't know.
I see it going one of two ways. Either it's the simple route of, hey, we need this guy. You can help us if you want, and then when we've got what we got, he's all yours. I can't imagine that they want to end with just letting him go. I'm sure they want to put him back in prison somehow. So striking a deal with AO and the Wakandans to sort of, hey, we need him. We could also use your help too. And then once we've got what we need to get done, do what you need to do with him. Or they try to strike that deal, and she's like, nah, dude, this is what's going to happen. And she becomes this plot point of another thing they've got to sort of circumvent until they can finish what they need to finish with him. And maybe
Yeah.
because they really only need him to get to the power broker, right? Or the source of
Right.
serum.
Right.
That's it. So I can't imagine that they really want to do much else with him afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's what episode 4 is
Unless, of course, unless Bucky's going to need his help in hiding him after all that footage gets leaked to him being the Winter Soldier.
I don't know. I just don't see Zemo becoming any shred of an ally with them at all.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He definitely throws a wrench in this team that they're building with the new and improved Sharon Carter and, you know, Falcon, Winter Soldier, and now AO. You know, he is definitely the odd one out. He is definitely the villain of this so-called, you know, team, if they are building a team.
Right, and they're all at odds with him. You know, I mean, I can't imagine Bucky is just going to forgive him for framing him for this bombing. And obviously, you got AO mad that T'Chaka was murdered because of him. Sharon's mad because she's on the run because of him. And I just don't imagine that Zemo is going to all of a sudden be pals with Bucky at any form.
So, yeah. So do you think that if AO wants Zemo and Bucky isn't willing to give him up right away, do you think that's going to break his allegiance with Wakanda? Because I kind of like his white wolf persona within Wakanda. I was really holding out that would be his peaceful end, is living out his days in Wakanda. And I think this might screw that up if him and AO are at odds.
I could see that happening. I mean, I don't imagine they'll take his arm back or anything like that.
That's true. That is a Wakandan arm, isn't it? That's right.
I don't imagine that's the way they're going to go about it. But I do think that it's going to be a situation where, hey, we need him, and the Wakandans don't really agree with that. They want to go about getting Zemo back so that they can enact their own punishment. And while the three of them, Bucky, Sam, and Zemo, are off operating their main mission, Wakandans are going to interfere somehow, and that's probably going to be our main plot point for episode 4.
Yeah. Well, I just looked it up on IMDb, which is my move, I guess, to your Googling. I look up stuff on IMDb. The actress who plays AO is credited for 1 episode, but since she was such a surprise character at the end of episode 3, I'm wondering if they're just going to edit that information when she comes back into episode 4, 5, or 6, you know?
I can see that happening, which gives me hope for Isaiah Bradley.
Don't get my hopes up too bad. Yeah, I love him so much. I really hope that he does come back into it. And even them just talking about him, you know, makes him, you know, such a huge part of the show without him even needing to be in it himself.
Yeah. I don't think that that's the last we'll see of him in general. It might be the last we see of him in this show, but I do think there's something to him and who was credited as Eli Bradley, and then eventually bringing the Patriot into the fold. So
right, that'd be cool. I'm here for it.
I would be as well.
Yeah.
Anything else? Oh, I have to mention my favorite line in the entire episode.
What do you got?
You're not going to move your seat, are you?
No. That was so good. Because that was
one of my favorite callbacks.
A very good, memorable comedy moment from Civil War. And to see it revisited in this show is golden.
Yes. Yeah. That was perfect. I loved it. I instantly got it. Of course, I've watched Civil War pretty recently, so I mean, it was fresh in my mind, but man, that was...
Why does Sam always get in the back seat, man? He's got to secure that shotgun faster.
Well, no, because it's reversed. Because in Civil War, it was Bucky said, "Will you move your seat up?"
Oh, was it?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was the same way. Oh, no, you're right. That's right. Oh, man, I didn't even catch the full gravity of that.
Total payback.
A little revenge. That's so funny.
It was just so well done. Sam sits down.
Man, I didn't catch that the roles were reversed. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was perfect. Sam sits down realizes he doesn't have room, and then also at that point realizes he's not getting more room. It was so well done. I loved it.
No, so good. Well, the only other line of dialogue that I want to talk about, and I'll be paraphrasing because I didn't write it out, but they're talking. Okay, so they're on Zemo's plane towards the end of the episode, and Sam and Bucky are talking about the shield. And Sam's thinking, maybe I should have, I shouldn't have given it to the museum. I made a mistake. Maybe I should have destroyed it. And then Bucky says something along the lines of, well, before you destroy it, I would rather have it myself, I'll take it from John Walker myself.
So that obviously the shield means a lot to Bucky.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've seen in the trailers where Sam has the shield and he's throwing it around and he's getting used to using it. Mm-hmm. So we know they get possession of the shield back.
Yeah.
I'm really curious as to how that happens, but I don't think Bucky ends up with it, simply because I think Sam is going to ultimately acknowledge that he should have accepted it, and he's going to end up with it in the show.
Do you think he'll be a reluctant Captain America towards the end of the show?
I think so. I think that it will be one of those things where he's not as reluctant. He takes it on and he recognizes the gravity of it and why he should have kept it. I would be interested to see how he would have destroyed a vibranium shield.
Yeah.
But because I don't know how he could have done that, but I do think Sam ends up with it. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of maybe a power struggle between the two of them to see who gets to keep it.
Well, I've always thought that the Shield and Captain America and the good old USA, I thought all of that meant more to Bucky than Sam. Yeah. I think that Steve as a character, all the heart, all of that meant more to Sam. So really, Sam and Bucky make up, the two halves of Captain America in a strange way.
Do you said it a little while, like a couple episodes ago, maybe it was, that there may be two shields.
Yeah.
What are the odds that they both get one?
That would be interesting.
I was also
while you were talking about destroying the shield or whatever, breaking the shield, I thought of the broken shield at the end of Avengers Endgame, and I had to follow the shield back a little bit mentally. It's like, wait, where did they get this shield? And I remembered of course they got it, from Cap in a different timeline, and that's the shield I guess that they're using. But yeah, what if there is a second shield out there?
I don't think that's the same one. From a different timeline, I think, because if you look at it, it looks different. There's the
little notches.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. I noticed that every time, and I don't remember it being in the original, but I also don't know if it's my mind playing tricks on me. So it's not. Okay, so it has been recreated.
I think
from the broken one at the end of Endgame.
And we know there's tons of vibranium now because of Wakanda.
Right. I hadn't thought of that. So, okay, so then am I just headcanoning the shield from a different timeline then? Did he take other Cap's shield when he beat... I'm sorry, I'm following too many plot threads here.
Yeah, that's what messes me up with time, because it's so hard to follow.
I love it so much, but it is very hard to keep track of everything.
But old man Cap, they've confirmed he lived in this timeline. He didn't have to jump timelines. He lived in this timeline. So it's like, how does he have the shield if a shield was just destroyed? That had to have been recreated.
Yeah.
Had to have been. Because think about it. Cap goes back to live with Peggy.
Yeah.
He's still in the ice.
Right.
With the shield. So it's like, you didn't go and just grab the shield and then leave yourself in the ice, did you? Because then you have to also remember, he has to get thawed so that he can live that life, so that he can go back in time. You know what I mean? And so it's...
I think I feel like we've discovered a plot hole, but maybe I'll do some Googling and I'll figure out how the shield even exists, and maybe we'll talk about it next week because
I,
I don't have an answer. Yeah.
I think it was recreated. I think that's the simple. But yeah, do your
Yeah.
research.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, that's what we're here for, right? It's
yeah.
speculating and talking about, asking the questions that can't be answered.
You mentioned it too, about how Bucky is this kind of all-American sort of.
He's a soldier,
Yeah, and I guess I had sort of forgotten that. I always kind of associate Bucky now with Hydra Bucky, but even
Hmm.
Sharon Carter in this episode said, "You're Mr. America, Captain America's buddy," and so
Hmm.
I mean, and we obviously know the shield means a lot to him.
Yeah, she
Um,
was saying it, kind of mockingly, but she's right. I mean, that is true about Bucky's character.
so maybe he does end up with the shield. Maybe that's how we end this show. And Bucky he's got his arm and he's got the shield, and nobody can.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
he's got his whole ragtag group of new Howling Commandos, Zemo and AO. How crazy would that be?
my God, yeah.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, that covers all my notes. You got anything else?
I think that's it. Yeah. So
What an episode.
I think this was our longest one yet. So there was a lot to talk about.
There was a shit ton to talk about.
Yeah. So thanks to everybody that listened. We really appreciate that. We've had a fair amount of numbers on these episodes so far. So
Good deal. Good deal. I've
beginning
I've sent it to some friends. I've gotten some positive feedback.
well, we love all of you that listen. We really appreciate it,
Yes.
and appreciate
Thank
your
you so
feedback
much.
and support. So we'll be back next week with episode 4. And until then, folks,
Yeah.
take care.
Catch you later.